Joining me now is Bradley Bowman, Senior Director of the Center on Military and Political Power at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Bradley, I remember a time when people would actually get in trouble for what just happened on that Signal group chat. But let's just start with this new reporting. Hegseth's wife, former Fox News producer, going with him to these meetings with counterparts. You also have reporting yesterday, too, Brad, that his brother is a part of the Department of Defense now. I mean, I get it. It's a Trump specialty to include the family and everything, but this is getting to be the point where people really have to stop themselves and ask, what type of operation is being run by Pete Hegseth?
Thanks, Katie, for the opportunity to join you. And, this new reporting, I want to let the facts kind of come out before I comment, if I may. But, this does follow what we saw with the Signal messaging app. And my thought on that is that, some of the distinctions that were made between war plans and attack plans really risk missing the fundamental point and the most important point. And that is that we should never put sensitive or classified government information about future military operations on an unsecure, unclassified messaging app. Why is that? Well, it's obvious because that makes it more likely that our foreign adversaries are going to get that information and then use it to kill our service members or undermine the mission that they're ordered to conduct. And unfortunately, in this case, in the strikes in Yemen, we had details related to aircraft, munitions, targets, and timing for a future military operation that were put on Signal. Secretary Hegseth has said, well, hey, don't worry, there were no units, no specific locations, no routes, no flight paths, no sources and methods, and he was just simply providing a general update. He's certainly right that more information could have been put on there, but information that was put on there is absolutely the kind of information that should be classified and that we don't want our adversaries to have. And that's a point that, frankly, that the lead Republican on the Senate Armed Services Committee, Senator Wicker, has made. So, the bottom line is some of this information was put on Signal more than 2 hours before the munitions started to drop, and so for an agile adversary, that's enough time to take steps that increases the likelihood that one of our aircraft might get shot down or that they would take steps to make our mission less successful. So I'll end with this. My main focus is, making sure we understand what happened here, learning the right lessons and implementing the reforms, because while we got lucky this time that no Americans were hurt, thank the Lord, we may not be so lucky next time.
And Brad, your point is so well taken, right? Because the gold standard is not nobody got hurt. We don't want anybody to get hurt. But in this instance, to hear people at the Department of Defense, and then you also have the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, saying not only were you not going to investigate it, but we're not going to change this. We're going to continue to use Signal. And it's okay because nobody got hurt. But for example, though, there is this news that Israel is angry because there was human intelligence that was provided that gave information that was a part of the Signal group chat. And that could also compromise people that are putting their lives online as well to provide this in a covert capacity. Talk about why that makes something like Signal, which is ripe for infiltration and ripe for hacking and shouldn't be used, especially when this type of information is being shared.
I'm really empathetic to the position of Israel here because, they've been confronting a 6 or 7 front war against adversaries that believe that Israel doesn't have a right to exist, and they want to exterminate the world's only majority Jewish state. And so, when surrounded by adversaries that want to kill you, you got to be careful with the information. And as someone who's had access to classified information as a military officer in almost 9 years in the U.S. Senate, I heard firsthand from allies and partners on this issue. And, the United States has the best intelligence collection capabilities in the world. But as capable as our intelligence community is, we need intelligence from our allies and partners, especially as we have this axis of aggressors consisting of China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea working together to hurt us. We need intelligence from our allies and partners. And if they don't trust that we're going to take care of it and treat it appropriately, they're going to hesitate next time in sharing that information with us, and that will make us less safe.
One of the biggest concerns, obviously, is if this is happening on Signal and it's end-to-end encryption, there's this indication, too, that the messages are deleted after a certain period of time automatically. It has now come to the point where American Oversight had to file a lawsuit against the Trump administration and certain cabinet officials to be able to get to the bottom of this. The judge in that case has actually entered an order demanding that there be a preservation of evidence based upon this lawsuit. But that really does raise a bigger question, right? right, Brad, which is when you're communicating on Signal and you allow for the disappearing or deletion of messages, doesn't that also violate this idea that we should be able to have access to records to see what was being discussed and perhaps learn from what went wrong?
It's an important question. We obviously want all laws and regulations to be followed. I don't pretend to be a lawyer, so I'll leave that to the lawyers. But to me, I just want to reiterate the fundamental point. You don't put sensitive or classified information about future military operations on unclassified, unsecured systems, phones, computers, or messaging apps, because that puts our troops, our national security in danger. And that's why I'm a little concerned about some of the pushback here, because it suggests that fundamental point that, frankly, anyone who's had access to classified information should understand, it casts doubt around that. So that's where I really think we need to focus. You keep classified sensitive information on classified secure systems. And if you don't, you risk helping our adversaries and having service members who are doing missions they're ordered to do, not returning home to their families. That's where my focus is.
Brad Bowman, thanks as always for the insight in the analysis, making us smarter. I appreciate it. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much.